Hey everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Hi-Fi Preschool and Kids Weekly Training Podcast. My name is Kayla, and I am joined with two of our amazing Hi-Fi team, Frank Watson and Isaac Kierstead. We're so glad you guys are joining us, and we're glad that you, listener, are tuning in today because we are going to be jumping in to the month of January 2025. Can you guys even believe that the new year is upon us? It is just blowing my mind right now. We are already here, but we're excited about jumping into a brand new year and learning some amazing truths and excited about what God is going to be doing in your ministries and the lives of your kids this upcoming year. Now, as we get started, you guys know we always love to kick off our podcast with a fun new question. So today, because we are kicking off the month of January and thinking about the new year, we would be remiss if we did not talk about New Year's resolutions or plans for the new year or goals, or maybe you're a person who picks a word for the year. So Isaac and Frank, talk to us a little bit. Do you guys have New Year's goals, resolutions, a word that you kind of like hold on to for the year? What does the new year look like for you guys?
You know, I've always struggled with these New Year's resolutions, right? Because there's always the one you are aspiring to do, and then it's hard to hold on to that for the whole year. But I've always tried to find something practical every single year, something that is like obtainable and easy. And so one of the things I try to do is rest, you know, like finding rest in a lot of different ways, which I feel like for someone, especially I have two little kids, it's hard to find a rest when you have two little ones running around the place, but being able to find time to rest and be with God. And so taking extra time to make sure to have that is a priority I'm going to try doing this next year.
I feel that. That's great.
Frank, I'm going to be taking all of your notes because that is a little bit, probably not as much rest, but survive for me. So we are expecting a little baby any day now. And we are in the moments of, okay, we know our life is about to change forever. And we also know that we can plan for some things, but we can't plan for everything. So there are going to be moments of just, hey, we're going to survive through this with God's grace. So honestly, just that we're not really setting year goals this year like we normally do, but just, hey, this is a new adventure and a new journey. So we're excited for that.
It's a month-to-month goal.
Yeah. It might be a night-to-night goal.
Might be a week-to-week or a day-to-day goal. That's awesome. Those are both amazing. I think as ministry leaders, rest is always something that for us is the first thing to go. And it is the last thing that we often prioritize. And so I think that's great that you're able, Frank, to really lean in to rest and what it looks like to prioritize that for you and for your family. And then Isaac, man, I love that you have so much like flexibility as you're coming into the new year of like, we don't know what's going to happen. We're about to be new parents. Like, this is a whole new world, a whole new season. Our life is changing. And just being really open-handed with that and seeing, okay, Lord, like, where do you want to lead this year? Where do you want to take us? So that's awesome. I am I'm a word person for like picking a word for the year. And I always like pray about, okay, Lord, like what's the word that you want me to have? And I gotta say, I haven't landed for sure on a word yet, but as I've been thinking about it, one of the words that the Lord has continually brought to mind for me is surrender. And I'm like, oh, I don't like that.
Yeah.
I don't like that. I like control and I like order and I like plans and I like to know what's coming. But just this idea of like, there are things for us as leaders that are ours to hold, and there are things that are for us to let go of. And just like really spending some quality time with the Lord of like, what are those things that you are calling me to just be open-handed with, to just open my hands and say, you know what, Lord, you're the one who's in control ultimately. You have this. So that's my word. Ish right now, unless the Lord changes it. We'll see come June if maybe it's a different word. Who knows? But we'll see. Well, listeners, I hope that you all are thinking about the new year and just how the Lord wants to work through your life and what he wants to teach you this year. Because it's not just about how we are pouring out into kids ministry, but also how the Lord is pouring into us, and what are the things that how is he leading us? How is he guiding us? How is he preparing us for what's to come? So I hope that as you kick off the new year, that you are able to take some time to just get alone with the Lord, and spend a few minutes with him of preparing and praying and remembering how his faithfulness and how he is with you, and how no matter what this year holds, that you can find your rest, you can find your security in him, which is what we're talking about this month. So this month we are in a brand new simple truth. We are in a brand new theme, and we're going to be talking about how I am secure and God takes care of me. So Isaac, lead us out. Talk to us a little bit about what can we expect for the month of January? What are our themes for preschool and kids? What are we going to be looking at this month? And just how we're going to be talking about this truth in particular.
Yeah, for sure. Now, I know that Crystal gives me a really hard time, specifically on this podcast, because every time we open up a new Bible story, I'm like, this is one of my favorites. But that aside, I will say that this is probably one of my favorite truths of the entire year. This truth that I am secure, that God takes care of me. And one of the reasons that I love this truth so much is because of some of the epic Bible stories that we get to share during this month. As we're going through this month, we are going to see some Bible stories of epic proportion, because in the moments of the craziest things happening in these people's lives, in these moments where things felt completely out of control, we get to see God's goodness, his sovereignty, his strength, his peace in the biggest, most amazing ways as we break down this truth. So we're going to look at God is strong, God is my peace, God is trustworthy, God is faithful, and we're going to see it through these epic Bible stories. This week, we are going to be talking about Joshua in the Battle of Jericho, and how they faced this impossible wall, this impossible task, but God was there. His strength helped them do the impossible. So with preschoolers, we're going to say A to Z. God takes care of me from beginning to end. In every moment and everything we do, God is taking care of us. And for kids, we're going to say locked in. We are secure knowing that we are following God and his plan for us. And I'm excited for locked in. We're going to see a rock climber giving the storytellers. We're going to see a little bit of craziness in our main idea videos. But through it all, we are going to learn the verse of Psalm 16:8a. I always let the Lord guide me. In every moment, in every day, we can be secure because he takes care of us at all times. And I'm so excited to share that with kids and preschoolers this month.
Thanks, Isaac. Yeah, I love that we have this truth in this month, because I feel like it is when there's something new, there's often something scary or feelings of scariness or nervousness. Or even, for us overachievers of we make all of our plans and here's all of the things that are going to happen. And the Lord's like, yeah, not any of that is going to happen. But I just love that as we start this new year, we're able to really center our minds and our hearts around this truth that in Jesus, we are secure, that we don't have to worry, that he holds us, that he has us. And it just teaches us more about the heart of God and his love for us and how we can be secure in who he is. All right, so Frank, take us to the Bible story. So this week we're going to be learning about Joshua and the Battle of Jericho, which Isaac just talked about. And our main idea is talking about how God is strong in preschool. And then in kids, we're actually talking about how God is strong when I am weak. And so even leaning further into we have limits and God doesn't. So in this Bible story, God is strong and he's taking care of his people, but he does it in a kind of surprising and unexpected way. So talk to us a little bit about that, and then help us understand, how does this Bible story in particular point us to our main idea, and what does it tell us about God and his character?
Yeah, no, I love this story because, like Isaac was saying, we get to talk about these really big and epic stories this entire month. And this is, if you think about it as like a character inside of the story, it feels a little weird, right? Like you're walking around a city 7 times and you're blowing these horns, but you're seeing the power of God inside of this moment, right? That everything that happened from this wall falling down, that was all God. They didn't have to go and try to hit hammers on it. It was all God doing all of that. And so I feel like in our lives, a lot of times we get nervous about this new year that's coming up, or maybe something else is happening. We don't know what the next step is. We can know and be secure in who God is, right? We can know that God knows our future. God can help us in those moments, and that we can be secure in who God is. And so I love that this story is really painting a picture that God is strong in those moments, that we have a firm foundation in who God is, and that we can lean into him, and he will help us through those big things. And that's the things we're teaching our kids and our preschoolers this week.
Yeah, I agree. And you know what's so cool about this story in particular is like God's orders to them, and the way what he commands them to do is to walk around this wall, right? Like 1 time a day. Nothing changes. Like they're obedient to the Lord and nothing happens for 6 days. And I think so often in our culture, you know, we're so used to like this emergent, like immediacy of I'm going to ask for it and Lord, you're going to give it right this second. And God says, no, I have a better plan. I need you to just be still and watch what I'm going to do. And I love that this shows the heart of God and his patience, not only with his big picture plan, but also with the details of the lives of the Israelites where they are right now, right? Like he knows they need to see that I keep my promises and that I am the one who is going to make this happen. It's not in their own strength. It's not in what they're doing. It is in me and who I am. I can only imagine on that 7th day, and the Israelites are walking around this wall 7 times, right? And then to stand there and see the power and the strength of God and what he does. Like they didn't do anything. They just went for a hike. Like they're just walking around. And it is God who says, stand still and watch what I'm going to do for you. So I just love how this story really helps us see the heart of the Lord and the strength of the Lord, and how we get to help teach that to our kids and preschoolers, that like, this is the God we serve. Like we serve a God who is way more powerful than what we think, than what we imagine. Like he can do stuff that we can't even think of. And how that helps us know our security is found in him. Just really cool. Thanks for sharing that. All right. So we know as a culture, as a society, that we live in this world that focuses on our strength, our independence, ourselves, right? What can you say as a leader, either to a kid or maybe even to their parents? What is something that we can really reflect on and think about in preparation for this upcoming week about how do we help someone understand to rely not on our strength, but on God's strength? What does it look like to not trust in ourselves and our abilities alone, but to rest in God's grace and to trust in his plan and his provision?
I love this question because there are going to be those kids and even those adults in our huddles that we're in on Sunday mornings, Wednesday nights, that are really struggling with things of saying, hey, right now, honestly, I don't feel secure and I kind of want to pick myself up by my bootstraps and just do this myself. But I love looking at this story of Joshua, of the Israelites, and trying to think of maybe what would have been the plan that they would have concocted, they would have created of, hey, we're going to scale the walls. Hey, we're going to do all of this. How they might have come up with this really clever, fun idea. But in the long run, God's idea was so much better. And it might have seemed crazy. It might have seemed out of their minds for them to be like, yeah, we're going to walk around the wall and we're going to defeat this city. But when we have that trust in God, when we trust on his strength over our strength, sometimes he asks us to do things that feel uncomfortable, that don't feel maybe like the way we would plan them to be. But when we look back and we see, wow, God was working. His strength was through the situation. His hand was through this. all I had to do was trust in him. And I say all. That's not an easy all. That's a big all of having to trust in him. But we just need to trust in God because he will keep us secure. One of my favorite verses is actually 2 Corinthians 5:13. And it says, "For if we are out of our mind, it is for God. And if we are in our right mind, it is for you." When we talk about if we are out of our mind, if we are doing things that seem a little different, that seem a little bit crazy, we're doing these things for God because his love compels us. Following him is compelling us to do these things and rely on him. And that is a truth that we can really rely on each day, each hour, each week.
Yeah, this is such a hard, I feel like a lot of hard places for kids to start, because even if they want to do this, it's to know where to start, right? Like, how do I actually give up this thing that's hard for me? And there's always like the idea, letting go isn't necessarily like, if something has happened to you, it's not like forgiving the thing that actually happened, right? It's not allowing it not to be held on yourself. It's allowing yourself to be able to give it to God and let God have control over that situation. And so, like, it's the first step of just, actually sitting and praying with God. It's talking to God and spending time with him. It's getting around Christian counsel and looking for that wise counsel to help in that moment. It's reading God's word and seeing what God's word says about that situation and being able to help you through that as well. And so it's really taking those first steps of understanding who God is and how you can lean into that strength.
Yeah, I think those are both great. Thank you guys for sharing. And I think to add to that, there's just a moment of just walking with people, just walking with people in the midst of it, and not just giving an answer that is expected because we're at church, but really just leaning in and walking with people, sharing your own experiences. So sometimes that requires a little bit more vulnerability on our parts to say, like, listen, I know you don't think I understand, but I really do. Like, I'm happy. Like, let's grab coffee this week and let's just talk about it. And let me share with you how the Lord was faithful in my situation. And let me just pray with you. And so I think there are different ways depending on the people that we're walking with. And there could be age appropriate, stories that you can share with the kids this week of, here's how I have seen that God is secure. Here is how something that happened in my life that helped me know and see that God is powerful. I was even teaching this last Sunday, and I was teaching a different story, and I was talking about feeling insecure and feeling a little scared about something. And the little first grader next to me immediately turned to me and said, "What was it? What happened? What was it that made you feel that way? What did you do?" And so there's always little moments where we have with kids or with their parents or with other leaders to just lean in and to be vulnerable about how we have seen the Lord work in our story. Part of that scripture in, I think it's 1 Peter, that talks about, being ready to give an answer for the hope that's within you. That's often used as we talk about apologetics and talking to people who don't know Jesus. But I think it's also just anytime there is an opportunity for us to give honor to the Lord for ways that he has worked in our lives, for things that he has done, for how he has shown himself to be secure, to keep his promises. We always want to be looking for those opportunities and being ready to be able to share how the Lord is faithful, how he is secure and powerful, and how he is always with us. So leaders, we hope that this time has been an encouragement for you, and know that we are praying for you as you are leading this week, that the Lord would open your eyes and your hearts as you're studying this session and preparing you for what is to come on your Sunday or Wednesday. You might have all the plans work out like you expect them, or you could have plans that go awry, as they sometimes do in kids ministry. And no, regardless of what happens this week, we know that the Lord is faithful, and we can be secure and rest securely in him. So thank you guys for joining us, and we will talk to you soon. Bye.